Apologies in advance to listeners of the show because though I've desperately searched myself for something even moderately interesting to say about Taylor Hackford's 1993 film Blood In, Blood Out, the best angle I can come up with, sadly, is the profound and resounding sense of absolute ambivalence. I hate that the strongest feeling I have after watching this film is who gives a fuck. That I've been tasked to say something about it is absolute misery, I assure you, especially since there seems to be, as baffling as it seems to me, some pocket of the movie-going population who love it. My guess would be that the fans of it, those who remember it at all, are those who feel close to the disenfranchised Mexican-American community it portrays. Which brings me to the disclaimer. I'm a middle-aged white guy from a middle-class, lower middle-class, but middle-class all the same, New Jersey suburb. I know zilch about the East LA gangsta life. I know nothing about the real plight of Mexicans struggling to survive in the United States and who pick up gang like a weapon. If I've ever driven through a barrio, I didn't know I was doing it. The closest I've come to any affinity with the culture that this film is trying to present to us here, in fact, is that I could say that I like tacos. But I'm not entirely convinced that my ambivalence can be attributed solely to my ignorance of Mexican street gang culture. After all, isn't a filmmaker's job to transport its audience to a strange world and have them care deeply about it? Certainly writing the main character of the film as a Mexican white half-breed is an attempt to do just that, to draw some empathy/affinity out of us. Miklo, played by Damian Chapa, struggles against his white skin to gain the acceptance of the culture into which he was born, and we follow him as if he were one of us, a visiting tourist, as he steps off the bus from Las Vegas and rejoins his family and community. He quickly falls back in with his cousins, Paco and Cruz, played by Jesse Borengo and Benjamin Bratt, respectively, and as a matter of course joins the Vato Locos gang, Holmes. Things go awry almost immediately and the trio's paths diverge. While the artist Cruz deals with the debilitating spinal injury and descends into a heroin-induced stupor, and Paco joins the military in order to avoid jail and ultimately becomes LAPD detective, cracking down on the same gang culture from which he emerged. Miklo becomes deeply enmeshed in the race gang wars happening on both sides of the San Quentin prison walls. With Miklo serving as our tour guide, we get to see all the main attractions any dutiful American tourist could hope for. Behold on the left side of the bus the perils of prison-ass rape. See on your right the heart-rending difficulties of rising above the vicious crime cycle ensnaring the exploited ex-con. And just ahead, witness the double-crossing power plays of gang political violence, etc. and so on. The apparent intention of the film is to provide all of us privileged white folk güeros with an all-encompassing survey of street gang life on an epic scale. But the reasons why it doesn't work are myriad. Firstly, though it purports to be inspired by a true story, if I were to take a guess at it, I'd say that it was mostly inspired by the financial success of the shockingly superior Edward James Olmos film American Me, which, released a year prior, was in turn inspired by a true story. So in Blood In, Blood Out, the inspiration is twice removed. Its power is diluted. It feels distant and fake. I'm pretty sure that before his work got fed through the Hollywood milquetoast filter of script doctors, the writer Jimmy Baca had genuine first-hand experience with East LA gangs in and out of prison, and that what he envisioned was authentic and potent and sincere, and it probably broke his heart into a million pieces to see his lifeblood eventually ground into the synthetic meat sausage that came out on the other side of the Hollywood grinder. It probably killed him to see cardboard caricatures made of the flesh and blood and guts people he'd known. Probably destroyed him to see his life portrayed by overactors dressed in bad Halloween costumes delivering ham-handed dialogue against an after-school special music score in order to teach TV Movie of the Week morality lessons. Look, it comes down to this. If you're looking for a good film to take you through the nuanced facets of the Mexican LA street gangs in a meaningful and believable way, do yourself a favor and go first to American Me. Did I mention that the thing plays for 3 hours and 10 minutes? 3 hours and 10 minutes. And at the end of this never-ending coma, there's no kind of closure whatsoever. But that's not to say that it invites you to contemplate meaning with some artsy-fartsy Euro film Raymond Carver type open ending. Rather, it just seems that the filmmaker simply ran out of film and decided on the spur of the moment to strap the camera on a helicopter for a bird's eye shot and call it quits. Maybe that's the real cause of my profound ambivalence with this picture, that Hackford wasn't even quite sure of what he wanted to say with it, or didn't even know what question he was asking. Or more likely, the writer's statement got lost somewhere along the way of the production. Ultimately, no clear direction or anything resembling a statement emerges. So, if you're scratching your head wondering why the hell I'd be wasting my breath on a mostly forgotten picture that's 20-something years old that I don't even like and don't even feel strongly enough about to really dislike, here's the reason. We take turns programming these episodes and we assign films to our co-hosts. And while I would never, ever even think of suggesting that this is the case with my cohort Max Cook here, who assigned me Blood In, Blood Out, it has been suggested in the past that we sometimes assign movies to each other as acts of passive-aggressive shin kick. So to sum it up, the questions I have for why this assignment has befallen me are the same exact questions I have for the film itself. Why? Why? 3 hours and 10 minutes, for the love of God, why?
Joe, I've never listened to you hate, well, not hate, but just, I don't know what, you have
this may have been the most difficult film that I've ever had to...
It's terrible. I just don't it's just a mess. And then I read there was a whole subplot that they didn't even add into the final edit, where Benjamin Bratt's character had a girlfriend, and they cut all this stuff out. And like, I'm just thinking about what you said at the end. There was like no resolution to like anything.
I mean, the guy that they pitted, Benjamin Bratt, like the main hero, wasn't even a part of the final scene. He wasn't even in the scene.
Makes sense.
I mean, they could have at least invented some, pretense or contrivance to get him out there to the LA.
Force, like Brad at the end is like, okay, all right, Holmes, I'm with you to the end, Holmes. Like all of a sudden, he just changes his mind, just like that. Like, I mean, get the fuck out of here. And the hack in Hackford really plays here, because I mean, this is just three.
He went on to make a few other, a few better movies.
He had a really popular film called Against All Odds, which was a big hit. It was a huge hit. It was. I mean, that played over well with a lot of the 25 to 40 crowd, white 25 to.
When we were younger, that came out.
Our parents loved Against All Odds.
Didn't he direct Officer and a Gentleman also?
Yes, that was a big one.
But he did also The Devil's Advocate, which was
so he had a bona fide career.
It's not a bad movie.
Isn't he married to Helen Mirren or something like that too?
He did The Idolmaker too, which was a movie that I used to love when I was a kid. I have no idea.
Ray Sharkey.
Here.
Baby, I just wanna take you where I'm going.
That's Ray Sharkey. Well, that's his movie.
Ray Sharkey.
And Ray. He did Ray,
yes,
which is a huge movie. Yeah, this guy had a big career.
I'm never crazy about Ray. I think that's a paint by numbers movie too.
Well, it was very similar.
Great performance, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's just it just doesn't do anything for me. But he's just way out of his depth here. There are some things that listen. Anything cinematically that has to do with prison, I'm usually in. I love prison scenes, and I thought some of the prison scenes were a little, there was some intensity there, but overall, it just really, I mean, just a huge disappointment for me watching this movie, Joe. I just,
I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't think. Not only that, but it was hard for me to come up with something to fucking say.
Right, I'm sure. It's tough. I mean, how do you think I felt talking about NWA? What the fuck?
That would have been. I think that. Well, whatever.
But this one, I could only listen. This would I would be scratching my head for days and dreading doing the intro for this film. Really. And Joe, you're right. There's a cult following here.
People like it.
A friend of my friend Phil, who who I saw a few days before I screened this movie, was endlessly bragging about this movie to me all night. He's like, "Oh, you're watching that movie?" He's like, "I own it. I love it. You're gonna love it. It just tells this."
All right, then maybe someone on the panel here is going to be arguing. We might be in for an argument here, Tom.
All right, well, let's see what happens because I am with you 100% on this, Joe. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I could sit here and bash this and bash that.
I know, and I hate
that. So maybe we'll get a different take. We'll start with Adam and see what how his screening was. I know he was trying to find the movie. He was having a difficult time finding it. Adam,
it was rough. You know, you can't find this movie except, I guess, on Netflix DVD, which I don't have that kind of subscription. And I eventually found it on YouTube, but then I was having a connection problem, so I had to kind of mirror it from my phone. So I ended up.
So what did you do? You went to the drive-in?
I saw this movie at the drive-in. I did, or maybe I didn't see it at the drive-in. But and then I find it's like over 3 hours long, and I didn't even get to it until last night. No. So last night at 9:30, I said I got to sit down. It's 9:30. I know there's 3 hours, but Jesus, I've already prejudged this movie.
I'm still watching the movie as we speak.
Just about to finish it, and shit, I really actually enjoyed the film. I got into it. It just was like this epic kind of. It felt like a Once Upon a Time in America. It felt like it could have been the first 3 1-hour episodes of like the new HBO Vato prison drama or something like that.
It was so bad, and whatever good actors they had, they underused, like Billy Bob Thornton and Delroy Lindo and Ving Rhames, all popping in here.
And I was watching it, and I thought this movie must be made this must be his first film, because it just kind of felt like raw and these big name actors that clearly this was before they had a name for themselves. And I saw it was 93, and I went, that's a little strange, but it didn't matter. I still completely enjoyed it and stuck with it, and burnt the midnight oil last night so that I could see it in its entirety, and
so
had no idea. I'd never heard of this film before.
For you, it's Vatos Locos forever, huh?
Vatos Locos forever, Canal.
Adam's in, Joe. He's buying it.
I guess, man.
I'm in. I liked it. I enjoyed it.
I'm odd man out tonight, man. I guess.
You got me, Joe. Come on.
I know.
How could you forget that?
The last movie, though. The last movie I wasn't so keen on, though, either. But yeah, I'm with you, Tom, all the way with this one.
Dread. Max, what the fuck is going on here with Blood In, Blood Out?
I'm sorry.
Oh, did you do this to get back at Joe in any way?
No.
What was the last movie I signed? Oh, that was a bad one.
Because the last thing he assigned you was the stupid, but not blow. It was
What was documentary on the guy?
Documentary.
Blow Up.
It was the counter to.
Oh God, Blow Up.
It wasn't Blow Up though. It was Jesus Christ, Peeping Tom.
Peeping Tom. That's right. Same show.
Oh, you got me back, Max. Thank you.
No, I didn't mean to get you back. That was not my intention.
Had you seen the movie, Max? Had you seen it before?
Oh, many times in the past. And I watched this and I was like, wow, this is really over the top. Everybody is screaming like this in the movie.
Yeah.
Canan, Galeño, you have to be a Galolo. I love you, my brother. I love you too, but Galoro. I know I love you, but Galoro. I had a headache.
My wife came in. We were gonna watch American Me right after. Like I watched it in 2 sittings. My wife came in like the last hour of it. We just weren't doing much yesterday afternoon, and she came in, and she sits down after like 2 minutes. She's like, "Why is it so bad?"
Everyone is talking like this, Carnan. No, not like this, Carnan. I love you. I love you too, but I want to kill you. I want to kill you too.
Joe, did you find yourself laughing at times? Like I was like, just like.
I mean, I was trying not. No, right.
Here's the.
I mean, I tried.
Right. I chose this film because. Quick history. I went to a junior high for the performing arts that was in Pacoima, and Pacoima is a barrio. It's like they were busing the rich white kids well, not rich, but the white kids out to Pacoima, and they were busing Pacoima kids out to the rich white schools. And when I was there, I was in a magnet school for the performing arts. So I had acting and dancing and singing, and I fell in love with a girl who was in Math Magnet. And this girl was Ana Maria Reyes. Okay, so she lived in Pacoima, and she lived on Osborne Avenue. And directly across the street from her house was the LAPD police station. So I would love her and I would want to be with her. But the problem was I was a white boy. So I was bussed out to the barrio. And I got to tell you, the Mexican gangbangers were like, who the fuck are you, Holmes? What the fuck, bitch? I've had knives held to my throat.
Oh, jeez.
I've had all kinds of horrible things. But I worked it out with comedy. And I said, but I'm dating Ana Maria Reyes, who was a Hispanic girl. And that provided me protection. And that's how I'm still friends with her to this day.
Protection. Makes a knife to your throat.
That's like West Side Story shit.
I know. I played riff. When you're a jet, on the way from your first cigarette to your last dying day. When you're a jet, you're the swingingest thing. Little boy, you're a man. Little man, you're a king. The jets are in gear.
It's not the first time he's...
I know, he loves it.
I know he does. Oh, man.
The point is, I had a connection to the, not so much the Crips and Bloods, but the Vatos. Forget about it.
Knife to your throat.
But Max, have you seen American Me?
Oh, many times, Holmes.
That's a good movie, man. That's the first time it's the first time I watched it, and I'm glad. If for nothing else, Blood In, Blood Out got me to that movie, and I really am a fan of that one, man. I'm glad
I never saw
that
American Me, Joe.
It's good, man. It's this movie except like better, like a good.
Okay.
Movie. Like it's a good.
Is it,
it's like a
is
good
it
version.
3 hours long?
No, it doesn't need to be 3 hours long.
No, it doesn't need to be 3 hours long. Oh my God, Tom! What about you in Blood In and Blood Out? What are you thinking?
Blood In and Blood Out. The only question I had is why? Why did they even bother? American Me told the story.
Oh, there we go.
Told it accurately, to the point where Edward James Olmos was getting death threats and needed to get a concealed weapons permit. It told the story of the. I mean, the deal is the founding of the Mexican Mafia. That's the whole. There's no reason to have made a fiction that was a piece of shit in my mind when you had American Me. American Me was an epic prison movie.
And not only that, just like as much as I agree with you, not as much as the subject matter, I'm sure it sounds like it's ringing true with you, but from a filmmaking and storytelling perspective, those characters all had doubts and flaws, and they had decisions that they had to make. They weren't just friggin' moving along on their...
You didn't feel the consequences of being part of, the big deal, right? In Blood In, Blood Out, the Galaunda. You didn't feel the consequences of making that trip. But in American Me, the one guy had to kill his brother. I mean, come on, that's. So no, I didn't like this movie. I didn't like it the very first time I saw it. I didn't like it the second time I saw it, and because I was doing this, I watched it another time, and I didn't like it this time either. There's nothing about the movie I like. Not one thing. I don't like any of the acting. I don't. It's not believable because, again, I worked in that world. I know.
Yeah.
I just they weren't menacing enough. Like again, in American Me, you're terrified of some of these guys, which you should be. In this movie, you weren't terrified. Magic Mike was a joke. I mean, that was supposed to be the baddest guy they had. No, I can't tell you anything.
Low rider, take a little.
It had that.
Both movies.
Yeah.
Both movies had that.
Oh, American Me delivers that in Lowrider as well?
Oh yeah, they play handball, which look at Watch American Me.
Colors.
It's in colors too, right?
It's in colors. It's in American Me. It's in Blood In, Blood Out.
Yeah, it's
That's funny.
Adam.
There was a.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam, could this be one of the worst movies of its genre ever made?
Come on, Holmes! Give me my ink, Holmes! Better go, Holmes!
Every line had to be screamed.
I'm just gonna chalk it up to the fact that I am, severely exhausted. And maybe was just watching it absolutely mindlessly.
There you go.
But listen, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. It wasn't this. I'm not saying that it was a great movie. I just kind of went for the ride and went with it. It was
sorry, I
scheduled
scheduled this program.
Oh,
no, dude, come on.
But if you want,
I enjoyed it.
I'll
I
never.
went with it.
Here's the point.
I'll only subscribe to films that are. You know what? I'll go to Rotten Tomatoes and look at the tomato meter.
Yeah, you do that.
I subscribe.
That's
films
what.
again.
That way we
But
can actually.
but
talk.
you guys asked me. There's nothing realistic about that movie. There's nothing that would have any kind of street cred. Nothing.
Right.
Not
Which is
the
not
way.
a problem, but they're trying to sell that to you.
Correct. I mean, it's just like the gang fight at the very beginning. No, it was a comical joke that had, and
That's what I felt.
I thought this was produced by the World Wrestling Federation.
No, because the World Wrestling Federation produces entertainment. This was just pain and suffering.
Razor Ramon was in.
So there you have it.
I don't think there's much to say about this movie, guys.
No,
I don't.
I think we've hit a brick wall. The Vatos, they've tired us out here, unfortunately. Does anybody have anything else to say about Blood In, Blood Out before we wrap things up here and say our goodbyes?
Well, you know what? It has nothing to do with this movie, but I'm going to throw one out there for you guys. If you if you have a great movie that you haven't seen, it's one of my favorites. It's made in New Zealand. It's called Once Were Warriors, or Once Were Warriors.
Once Were Warriors, yeah.
Unbelievable. If you guys haven't done that, I suggest that for another show.
What's the premise?
It's about a Maori, which are the indigenous people of New Zealand and their culture, and it's kind of like a gang movie that's not a gang movie. It's about alcoholism. It's about fighting. It's about badasses. It's like it's like a Billy Jack made down there with a character that is so endearing and you hate him at the same time. That I highly, highly recommend that. I think you guys, Max, you've seen that, haven't you?
No.
Oh my God, you have to. I mean, it's
Okay.
great. It's great filmmaking. It's great acting. It's got everything you'd want, from personal interaction to some great ass kicking fight scenes. Let me throw that out there for you guys. And if you ever want me back and you do that, I'll be happy to write the intro for it.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Did you, Tom? Did you instill Max's love of movies?
No.
Are you a movie fan?
We are. In our house, the Oscars was like the Super Bowl for Max and my wife. It was a big deal. It was popcorn. It was an epic night. I'm a sports fan. What I did instill in Max that I'm pretty proud of is Max can recite every line of The Godfather. And that I did expose him to. And that's probably what I'm proudest of, because we both agree that's one of the finest movies ever made. And so besides music, that was the only real movie that...
The sports thing didn't take, though.
No, it didn't take.
But Tom, you also exposed Max to your finger up his mother's towel dress as well.
I think that's the demented view of a 9-year-old child.
Let's not forget
Right,
that.
it didn't happen. It was in my imagination.
Yeah, why would I be doing that? Come on now.
I will tell you something that Tom did. So, my favorite film when I was 12, 13 was Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. And this is when VHS cassettes cost $80.
Yep.
And there was a corner video store where you could order VHS cassettes. And Tom bought me my first ever copy of A Clockwork Orange for $80. And it was the biggest deal of my life. and I played that cassette until it ran out. I put it in the VCR, and it wouldn't play anymore, 4 or 5 years later. But Tom bought me that one because he knew how much it meant to me, and that was a really big deal.
The other,
awesome.
you talk about movies. The other movie that actually Max got me into, which is one of my favorite movies as well, is Full Metal Jacket, because Max actually introduced me to Kubrick.
Nice.
And I think Full Metal Jacket did for military movies what Colors did for gang movies, with that sense of realism. That's just my point.
Max, you got him into Kubrick.
I did.
Nice.
I saw that film for the first time with my girlfriend Lisa at the GCC on Victory Boulevard, and it was the opening day, and we saw the 4:00 show, and I said, we are going to see this film, and she said, I don't want to see a war film. And I said, yes, but you are about to see a Stanley Kubrick film, and that's different. And she understood it after the film was over.
Can I say that that the first video cassette I ever rented in my life, when I walked into a video store for the first time, we had a VCR, and I said, that's the movie I want to rent, was Clockwork Orange. And I also saw Full Metal Jacket at that same theater. It might have been a drive-in, but I think it was that theater. Because you're talking about
this guy, Max. He's taking your glory.
I know, he's busting my balls.
Yeah, I did that too, man.
Yeah, man. I'm going to crack your nuts because I'm going to hold on to shit.
Well, hey, before we go, I want to thank you guys for having me on.
You're very welcome. I loved having you, man.
And you guys don't even think of not doing this show. As a matter of fact, what I really think is you should look at having me back sometime in the near future, because I had a blast. You guys are the best. It was a great time.
Nice.
That's very nice.
But Tom,
you
understand
on,
that Tom Detloff is an asshole. He's
got to be. To have his position where he is right now, you have to have just a little bit of asshole in you. And I think that's what I love most about this guy.
but he's also a dick.
Yeah, well, they usually go hand in hand, don't they?
All right, enough of your nonsense, Max. Seriously, you keep it up. I'm going to get Nicole in here to tell you to shut up.
Once we're warriors. Don't forget that.
That sounds cool. Once we're warriors. Tom, thanks a lot for coming on and shedding some light on all this crazy activity, dude. That was really awesome. And I know for a fact that our listeners are going to appreciate it. I appreciate it. Joe, Max, and Adam appreciate it, man.
I do. I have one last question, Tom. Sorry, I know we're ending the show. So, in your dealings with gang members one-on-one, did you come away with the sense that you understood why they joined the gangs?
I'm going to tell you. I'll leave you guys with this quick story, and then this is an answer. We were doing background investigation on a prospective new hire. So we decided, we were in an area that wasn't in our city. We were in Los Angeles, in Panorama City. So we decided to cut through on a street, and the street was called Blythe. I'll never forget as long as I live. And as we came down to the end of the street, there was a barricade that was put up by the Los Angeles Police Department, cement barricades to keep traffic from going through, because it was such a heavily trafficked drug area that we didn't realize that we hit a dead end. So we started to back the car up and leave, only to find out that we were surrounded by gang members. And I mean surrounded. And they knew that we were police officers because it's obvious. And the other reason is I held my badge up and I held my gun up to show them. They weren't even phased, not even phased. So we got on the radio. We called our dispatcher because we couldn't talk to the LAPD, but our dispatcher called the LAPD, and within 2 minutes, all you hear are lights and sirens. The cavalry was coming. So, yes, I understand where they're coming from. No, I don't understand the level of violence or the lack of respect. And this was many years ago. And quite frankly, had the cavalry not come, I'm not sure what would have happened, to be honest with you. But you ever hear the old story that, if you say you're not afraid, you're lying? Well, my little asshole was puckered because the look in these guys' eyes, they didn't care that, the badge, the gun, it meant nothing. So the most powerful thing we had in that car was a radio. So the answer to your question is, I do understand where they really are, how they form. I don't understand the level of madness that they, and believe me, they put it on each other more than on other people. The level of madness that they do to each other. So no, I don't get it. I mean, yes, I understand, but no, I don't get it.
Thanks, Tom, man. Awesome having you on, and we definitely will have you on again. That's a promise.
Okay.
That is a definite promise, man. You are awesome, and I'd love to hear you just talk about movies in general with us. So we'll definitely get you back on, dude.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Thank
you,
me.
Tom, very much. Hey, guys, that's it, man. It's been a great couple of episodes. Straight Outta Compton, Colors, Blood In, Blood Out. We're going to be back in a couple weeks. I take the chair. I'm programming some cool stuff. We're going to do, my theme's going to be boxing, the sweet science. And we're going to start with the 2015 film Creed. And we're going to also take a little journey back and do Fat City and The Fighter. So you have.
I'm not on the Creed show?
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Wow, Tom, I get it.
It doesn't work that way.
You're not putting me on the Creed show.
It was not.
Is Adam on the Creed show?
It's the only show I get to schedule. You're not on the roster, and that's what I wanted to do. What are you doing?
You're not on the roster. No, I get it. Wow, not on the Creed show. Okay, I didn't know you were doing.
I didn't know that this would be a big deal at all.
Hey, I'm just saying. I had no idea.
Every time there's a show, you go, I can't believe I'm not on that show. I can't believe I'm not on this show. I was on the Congress show.
Who's on the Creed show?
Max is a big Rocky fan.
Who's on the Creed show?
Me, Adam, Joe, and Billy.
Oh, Adam's on. Oh, good for him. I don't think you like Creed that much.
I get to review it.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm glad you all have your secret society.
Listen, I'd like to.
This is all going to pay off when my body is splattered on the
time
street.
in Philly.
Listen, I'd like to thank Jordan Garcia of Dartboard Cinema. He helps us out.
You all have a good time talking about Creed without me.
This show is produced by Joe Christiana and Tom Detloff, and it is edited by Mr. Joe Christiana. The music is done by the Zillatones. You can check them out at www.thezillatones.com or search for them on Reverb Nation.
What do I know about Rocky movies?
Check out
You're a fucking
Joe's Filmwork.
Genius.
Check out Joe's Filmwork at ChristianaProductions.com. Check out.
And if you're listening to this after August 2016, you can catch my book, Atavist Falls.
Nice. Oh, Joe, I'm sorry. We'll talk about that.
It's okay. It's okay. I know that these recordings, they last.
This one there was just so much content.
It's okay.
All right, cool. Also, check out Max's blog, Max Cook on Cork.
Oh, don't worry about that.
And will you knock it off? You're making me sick. It's been a pleasant night, and now you're gonna leave like this. You're gonna leave it like this, Max? Seriously?
Hey,
this is how we're gonna leave it. After a beautiful night. Anyway, StarlandPC.com. That's where you can check out Adam Shoulder's pilot and his website.
Hey, man, I'll be on the Creed show.
We'll see you back in 2 weeks. Adam Shoulder is introducing Creed.
Of course I am.
Until then, we are...
Glory be praised.
Ciao.
Tune in next time to satisfy more of your strange desires. The Cutting Room Movie Podcast. We do chicken right.